So something I've been thinking about a lot is this whole Joe Rogan talks about it, Chris Williamson brings it up a lot, and then Alex Ramosi also talks about it, and then the latest one I saw that brought it up was Firstman, the guy from the YouTube channel from Firstman. So Chris Sterney, I don't know what his last name is, but anyway. So this lonely chapter, man, is so fucking true, man. Like I'm right in it. I think that we all start with like this whole self improvement loop in us trying to get better or feel like we're not enough in some way, so we feel like we gotta improve in all areas of our lives. And then once you get into like the whole self improvement path and you start reading books about it, watching YouTube videos about it and everything else, and one of the topics that is really, really recurrent is that you're the average of the five people you spend your time with. I would say that like in most of the books I've read, right? I've read a lot of things about self development, philosophy, like how to improve your life, time management, productivity, whatever the case may be, right? Uh, in any of those books, that when the purpose of those books is to make your life better in some way or to change your mindset for the better for a change that you want to achieve or something that you want to accomplish, there's always a section within those books which is you are the average of the five people you spend your time with, and they always start with this analogy of you're always getting ideas and actions and habits and ideas are being reinforced or negatively or positively by the people that are around you. And if you surround yourself with the wrong people, they one are going to reinforce the wrong ideas, and secondly, they're going to have different ideas to the ones that you have. The level of their goals is not going to be as big. There's going to be something different there, a different level. And also, um, they're going to negatively reinforce the big ideas that you have because in their mind, it's not going to be possible. And it's not going to be something that they're going to be willing to make any kind of sacrifices for. So then what is it that we like as dudes in self-improvement end up going for and end up doing? We end up cutting out all of our friends, at least the ones that are like really like all in and have that type of like black or white personality, like myself for example, where you go ahead and you just cut everyone out, man. I remember like watching Hamza videos and the guy talking about like how those guys are not your friends. The only thing you have in common is that all of you guys are addicted to the same drug. And by that, he didn't mean necessarily you being addicted to fucking coke or heroin or whatever the case may be, but more so about being addicted to either partying, to drinking, to playing video games, or to doing any of those things that are really damaging for you and are not good for your health or mental health, right? But then beyond that, I think that's something that's really important to recognize about you hanging out with a group of friends that don't have goals as big as yours and that don't aren't willing to make the same sacrifices or the level of sacrifice you are willing to do, then something that happens there which is like pretty parallel between them, right? Like your goals are not congruent with theirs, right? They're never gonna like clash in some way. Another thing that happens is that because you have bigger goals, and naturally the path you're gonna have to take is a lot different. Like I'll use myself as an example, man, right? So I was born in Chile. I'm based here. I'm living here right now, even like the country, long and thin in South America. The thing is that my goal, pretty straightforwardly, and is to be rich. Like I want to make a lot of money, a shit ton of money, so that I don't have to worry about it. Like it's something I lacked growing up. Even though I never was like, or my parents weren't like poor, we were like middle class, maybe sometimes upper middle class. I grew up and I went to a private school. So then everyone around me had a lot more money than I did, and I felt like I was less than because I didn't have as much money. I couldn't travel as much as them. I didn't have access to like as good clothes to the level I did, and all of those things. And they ended up making me somewhat resentful or grow somewhat resentful to my situation, right? That it got me to a point where I bowed to myself ever since I was a kid, man, that I'm gonna make a lot of fucking money. Like no matter what, growing up, I'm gonna make a lot of money. I don't care how, and I'm gonna achieve that, right? So then, because my goal is to make a lot of money, and when I say a lot of money, I mean millions of dollars, right? Like beyond 5 millions in the bank, like 5-10 mil, right? Which is I don't think it's ridiculous, by the way. Like you see it often. You see a lot of people that have accomplished that are not just necessarily geniuses. It's just a matter of consistency and discipline, right? Like just doing something that has and brings some value to a market for a prolonged amount of time. That's like bulletproof plan, right? And there are a lot of things that get in the way that prevent people from getting there, but I would say that's a pretty realistic goal and anyone can get there. I'm not a genius myself, so I'm not, of course I would like to do that in a month, but I understand that that's beyond my capabilities. So I'm just doing whatever the best option I have in hand. I'm just taking it, right? So then from there, man, like if I have this goal personally, right, of making millions of dollars, right, what is it that I need to do? I need to learn skills that will allow me to get to that level of net worth, that will allow me to build a network within a market that has that doesn't have that constraint, right? That has an infrastructure that can stand millions of dollars. That's first one. So a market that where it is possible to actually make that amount of money, right? That's the first thing. And then secondly, I need to work really hard and everything else, like a character and whatnot, right? But then the main the main point of the path where I started being different from everyone around me was the market side of things. Because the way I saw it was the following, right? So when I was living in the US a couple of years ago, and I was living there because I thought to myself, man, like, hey, if I want to make a lot of money, I should just go to the US, like work and save up money for tuition so that I can study there and I can make US money because people in the US are making a lot more money than people in my country are. For reference, the average salary in the US is something like, I think it's like 40, 50K a year, whereas here in my country, the average salary is like 12K a year. And the minimum wage is something like $550 or something like that. Whereas in the U.S. the minimum wage is something like it obviously depends on what city and state you're in, but it's always going to be somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000, right? Which is, you can say it's not a lot of money, but then in all the places that are not the U.S. that's a good amount of money, right? In my country, that's a good amount of money for someone to make. So then, because I lived in the U.S. myself, and I worked in those I did like those factory jobs, fast food jobs, and everything else, and I was already making more than some professionals in my country are making, like people with degrees, especially like people like shitty degrees, like like things like therapy or whatever, man, like those degrees that don't really pay anything, right? I was already making more than them, right? And then I thought to myself, like, hey, man, like I cannot work in this market that is the South American market, because if I do that, I'm gonna have this constraint where I'm not gonna be able to make as much money as I would like to, no matter how hard I work. So it's a matter of choosing the right market first, and then putting your head down and really like going all in and working really hard and making contacts and everything else. But it all starts from the market. So then that was my thought process from the beginning. But then what I ended up encountering is that in my country there's a culture, and I'm sure that this happens everywhere, not just in my country, and even in some places in the US and in some markets and whatnot, is that everyone in my country has this culture where a degree is everything. Like without a degree, you're gonna be stigmatized. People are gonna see you as less than them, or that you're not as smart, or that you're not gonna be able to make as much money, or that you're not gonna have a good future. And all of that stemming from the fact that you don't have a degree. People make all those sorts of assumptions, right? So then when I made the decision to come back to here, to my country, to Chile, so that I could work on some online business and be more free and like have more freedom, because there's a lot of expenses in the US that I don't have here. It gave me a lot more freedom here so that I could work in an online business for the US, making US money. That is a lot more than what people already are making in my country, right? So that's what I did. I came back, I started working on a YouTube channel. That was my initial plan. And then once I realized that something like that was gonna take a lot longer than I thought it would, that's when I got into high ticket sales. I've been in it for like a year and a half and whatnot. I'm right now at a point where I'm making around 5K a month. I'm scaling it up from there, of course, and I'm working hard to get it to 10K a month, saving up a lot of money. Whatever, like you don't need to know like my entire fucking life plan. You don't care. But anyway, the thing is that I have all this plan, right? I'm already making. If you're from the US and you hear 5K a month, I'm 24, by the way, 24 years old. You may think like, oh, this guy's fucking broke, which might be the case, but like, fair enough. Like, I'm not making as much money as I could. Like, the internet it exists. I have the potential to be making more, and there are no excuses. But then again, for people in my country, for someone to be making 5K a month, and you can look this up, that's like I'm a 1%er, and that's not in like my age group, but that's in like the country, the entire country, like people of all ages, right? I'm a 1%er, right? Only less than 1% of the people in my country make 5K a month or more. And in my age group, I'm like 0.01%, I'm guessing, or like 0.001% or some shit like that, right? Like, no one in my age, in my country, it's virtually impossible for me to find someone that is doing as well as I am in my age group in my country, right? Again, I don't want to use like any sort of excuse or like toot my own horn or act like I'm all this just because I'm like at that percent of my country. Because again, it's not a lot of money anyway. Like, what do you do with 5K? There's a lot of things I want to do that I can't because I need to keep stacking it up, right? I need to stack skills up, especially. I need to become more skillful, better at this, so that I can make a lot more money, right? So I can keep stacking it up, saving it up, and then keep planning from beyond and start my own company and whatever, right? But then again, like, I'm doing well. But what is it that I see, man? That my path in terms of like living abroad by myself, doing things differently from the get-go because I had bigger goals than the people around me, right? Because if I didn't have bigger goals, the easier thing to do and the easy thing to do would have been to just go to university here, man. I could have gotten like a fucking, I wanted to be a lawyer, right? I could have gotten like a law degree. It's a lot more straightforward in my country. You don't need a bachelor's before law here in my country, so it's a lot more straightforward. You study what, like 4 or 6 years, and then after that you're making like 1-2K a month, which is not a lot, but you have the respect from everyone because you're a lawyer, right? Like, oh, you have this big degree and everyone respects you, right? Like, when you introduce yourself in like social gatherings and you say that you're a lawyer or that you're studying law in whatever university, people are gonna respect you more. Whereas in my case, when I say like, hey man, I just work online, or fuck, like I'm working in digital marketing, digital sales, whatever, like whatever the way it is that you want to use to like frame it in a better way, like, and then people ask you, oh, and what do you study? And I'm not gonna lie about that. And because I don't lie, I say I didn't study, I didn't go to university. Like, I've just made I've just taken a bunch of courses. I spent like beyond 10K in online education and whatnot. I don't bring that up, but that's how much I've spent, right? Like between 10 and 15K. The thing is, like, people hear that and they think like, oh, this guy, he doesn't fucking have a degree. So then how that's related to the entire topic I've been talking about is that when you do something different and you have bigger goals than the people around you, you're gonna naturally alienate everyone from you. You're gonna be alienated from everyone. You're gonna be, and what alien means is different. You're gonna be alien from everyone else, right? You're gonna be different from everyone else because what you want to do and what you want to achieve is that much different. The path is also that much different, and because, and I know this is like a cliche at this point, everyone is saying it, but you cannot expect and want to be exceptional without being the exception along the way. And that's what it is, man. Like, I'm an exception right now, and I don't really resonate with anyone my age, whether that's like even like guys that are not fucking like degenerates or partying every weekend or doing all sorts of things. Like, the way they spend their time is always something like playing video games, or even if they don't play video games or they don't have any of those destructive habits, they don't have the same goals as I do, or they're not in the same path I am, and or they don't have this mindset or of I'm gonna become rich or I'm gonna die trying. They don't have that. They don't have that level of hunger because they don't even know it's possible. In their minds, if they're able by 30, if they're able to make 2K a month, that's a good salary because that's all they've seen. But I've seen more, right? And because I've seen more, I've become the exception. By rule, I've become the exception. I ended up becoming the exception. So then what has happened, right? What has happened is that right now, like working digitally, whatever, like digital nomad, whatever, I'm making around 5K a month, a little bit over that this month. No, but anyway, like I'm making like around 5K a month. I'm at a level above than all the people that I've been friends with all my life and the people in my country, because again they don't even know it's possible. But then I'm not at the level yet where I can just go to like those really high level entrepreneurs and become friends with them. Because even if like imagine you're one, bro, like most high level entrepreneurs are gonna have like US standards. Even if they're not US based, they're gonna have those kind of standards, and they're gonna look at me and say like, hey man, you're making 5K a month, like you're not all that much, you don't have all the skills in place yet, you're not that skillful yet. What is it that you can even do for me? I'm just keeping it 100% realistic and objective as possible, right? Like I'm not as good as I could be, I'm not as skilled as I could be, and it's not fine. I'm not even gonna, I was gonna say it's fine, but it's fine. No, it's not fine. There's no excuses. I gotta keep pushing and get to that next level. But then the thing is that during this period until I get to something like 10, 15K a month and I'm closing, then I'm all alone, man. And it's gonna happen to anyone that's trying to make a lot of progress, and especially in this exponential sense, and then this when you have bigger goals. Because like I mentioned before, if you have bigger goals, the path you're gonna need to accomplish them is gonna be a lot different than it would be from someone that just wants a regular thing, you know, like go to university, live a good life, buy a house and a mortgage, whatever. The path is going to be entirely different. So you're going to be different from all of them. And during all this path in the middle between you surpassing the people around you and then getting to that point where you're at that level of, at the same level than I don't know what adjective to use, but and in the same level as the people you want to hang out with and the entrepreneurs you want to network with and whatever. Until then, you're gonna be alone the whole way, and you gotta learn how to be alone. And that's what I've had to learn myself, man. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie, and it sucks to go to like social gatherings and just have no one to resonate with, because no one really talks about the same things. Like people aren't talking about vision or about the kind of goals they have for the future. They just talk about things that are really trivial for people that have goals as big as you and me. And I'm saying you and me because if you watched till this point of the video, you probably do, man. You probably resonate with everything I've talked about. So for people like you and me, man, like it's gonna be harder to find people that have the same vision. And that's not to say that people that don't have bigger goals or like a vision as big are not as good as we are. Because I mean, you can always compare yourself to someone that's better. Like imagine like someone like me. My goal is to have $5-10 million in the bank, so I can just be, I can have freedom. I can do whatever I want. I would like to start a podcast then, just for the love of it, because that's what I'm actually passionate about, self improvement. I'm not passionate, or like extremely passionate at least, about like things like sales and marketing and whatever, but they're a good bridge for me to actually become someone, achieve something, and then by the time I've done it, and I have like $10 million in the bank, I can go and start a podcast and talk about self development, which is the thing I'm actually passionate about, without a worry, with a lot of freedom, right? That's the goal. But anyway, the thing is that for people like us, it's gonna be harder to find people to hang out with, right? Because what they people end up talking about is that they talk about this other person's relationship and how this guy is cheating and this girl is a whore and this girl is and this guy is they're doing this and that. But to be honest, like you couldn't care less, right? And that's not to say that those people are worse than you and I don't really care. To be honest, who's better. I just care about achieving my goals. I think that the only thing that matters is that those people don't actually get you closer to your goals. I would say that more often than not, they're like crabs in a bucket and they just bring you and try to pull you down with them as soon as they see that you have goals that surpass theirs. and they're gonna try to make it look and make it seem as if your goals are ridiculous and it's impossible to achieve them. And they're gonna, this has happened to me a lot, right? They're gonna label you as this delusional guy. And my message to you is that you just gotta stay delusional. I once told my friends, like some friends from high school or whatever, I told them like, hey man, like, I really think, here's what I told them, right? Like, I told them how I came on, like, I think that if I really wanted to, I could go ahead and become like a top streamer, you know, like one of those guys. It's not something I want. I have some friends, or like back in high school, that are into that kind of thing, you know, like the whole thing, like Kai Cenats of the world, and in this case, you guys are in Chile, people like Ibai, you know, those kind of dudes, and Twitch and fucking YouTube. And what I told them is like, hey man, like, if you're actually like improving every time, and you're disciplined, and you're really consistent for a prolonged period of time, I think that it's impossible for you not to become one of the top streamers. Because I mean, first of all, look at the people that are streaming, man. Those guys are not fucking geniuses, man. Most of them are extremely retarded. So it's like, if you do things well and you're actually improving your charisma or reading books about that kind of thing, how to improve the quality of your speaking, of your audio, of your camera, and everything else, like little by little, and you do that for a couple of years, I think that is inevitable for you to become a top streamer by that point. What makes it harder is the vision and the idea that have all the people around you where they say and think that you're wasting your time just because you haven't seen results yet. And no one is supporting you in the middle where you haven't seen results yet. You're putting all the work, you're putting your soul into this, but you're not seeing any kind of results. And no one's going to support you then. Everyone's going to act like you're fucking crazy except the people that already have achieved that kind of thing. They're going to be the only ones that respect you because of your work ethic and your character, because they went through that themselves. But all the people that haven't, they're not going to understand it, man. They're not going to understand that love for the craft and the grind. So my message to you, man, is just fucking stay delusional, man. One of my friends, I told him, after I told him that I came and I could become a top streamer if I wanted to and make a lot of money. What one of my friends told me is like hey man, like life is not like shown in anime. And if you guys are not familiar with that, those are like all those animes and like shows where like Goku or Naruto or whatever, right? Naruto, they surpass themselves and they improve themselves and they get better and they never give up and like all of those qualities, right? And then what they told me is like, Todd, like, hey, like the real world is not an anime. They told me, like you can actually achieve your dreams and goals like that. It all comes down to luck. That's what they told me. And that's when I realized, like, instead of just like fucking arguing with them, I was like, they don't get it. Straight up, I just thought to myself, like, they don't get it. And they don't have to, because I'll stay on this path by myself. I will be my #1 fan the entire way, and then once I make it, whatever that means for anyone. In my case, is like I said, making a lot of money. Well, they'll see, man. But until then, I'm not gonna be the guy that goes and buys a fucking car just to make them see, or like my 5K a month, and I spend like my entire monthly income and buying a car in finance just so I can look good for the people around me. You shouldn't give a fuck about that, man. Just follow your path, keep your head down, and put the fucking work, man. Because if you're consistent and disciplined and you're actually improving every day, that the outcome is eventually gonna come inevitably. So yeah, man. This chapter is lonely, man, and I'm still in it, by the way. But I'm sure it's gonna end. I know for a fact. And I will get to meet people maybe like you or someone else that shares my vision and that have achieved the kind of stuff I want to achieve, and that are whose goals are aligned with mine, and the size of their goals is also aligned with the size of my goals. So yeah, thank you for watching.